I never knew that I was addicted to sugar. I never even knew that food was an addiction, because I thought that an addiction was something that you could quit cold turkey, and you need food to live. So how could food be an addiction? It's not smoking, it's not drugs, it's not alcohol. You actually need food to sustain yourself and survive. So how could food possibly be an addiction? I didn't know that boredom eating, stress eating, comfort eating, I didn't even know those things were so bad. It's hard to take a step back out of your life and admit to yourself that you're addicted to sugar. It's that kind of bubble that you live in where you'd rather feel like you're in that bubble of self-denial than admit to yourself the truth that you're addicted to sugar. It was such an awakening moment for me because I was talking to somebody and that person told me, well, I don't think it's a problem. I would be able to quit sugar forever. And I told them, well, that's not sustainable. I could never quit sugar forever. That's not even possible. And the person looked at me and said, well, that means you have a problem. And then I realized if it was so dreadful and my life seemed so unexciting and depressing without the idea of sugar in my life, then maybe I did have a sugar addiction after all. This was a moment in my life where I call it one of those cataclysmic changes, where I noticed, wow, if I can't picture my life without sugar, and I think that my life without sugar is something so horrible, then maybe it's a problem after all. Sometimes what you do is that you compare yourself to the people around you, your friends, your family, your colleagues, and you look at them, you say, well, they're eating so much more sugar than I am, so I probably don't have a problem. And then we think about it, why are we eating so much sugar? Why are we eating so much processed food? Why do we celebrate with sugar and treats when we know it's not good for us? Why do we treat sugar and treats as a reward for accomplishing things? Why? Why is that a thing? Why do we celebrate like that? It's really ingrained in our culture. Almost every single holiday that we have now has been commercialized and has turned into some sugar eating frenzy. Halloween candy on Halloween, Easter eggs on Easter, Christmas, you eat a bunch of advent calendars, and then you think about other events like Valentine's Day. It's all about roses and chocolate. How did this happen? How did we let this happen? Where every single major event revolves around sugar, and sugar is now a huge staple in our lives. So obviously we don't notice that sugar is an addiction. But sugar is bad. And I'm gonna give you guys 8 of my best tips on how to quit sugar. Because the first time when I realized that cataclysmic change, where I realized I was addicted to sugar and I needed to do something about it, that's when my life started to change. And that's when I did myself a challenge where I went keto for a full year, where I quit sugar for 365 days. And I thought it was gonna be so hard, I didn't think it was possible. But I'm gonna give you some tricks and tips on how to show you that it is possible, and how following a ketogenic diet and following that kind of low carb lifestyle will allow you to quit sugar and really detox yourself from it. So here are my 8 steps to go through in order to quit sugar. I'm gonna show you how I did it, and you can do it too. It's gonna take a little bit of determination, but once you get over that initial hump, you'll realize that you can live a life without sugar. So without further ado, here are the 8 steps. Make sure that if you like this video, you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment down below what your struggles are, and let's get right into the video. Step number 1, treat your sugar addiction as a serious addiction. Sugar is an addiction just like everything else, so we need to treat it like a serious addiction. People who suffer from alcoholism, they quit alcohol. People who suffer from cigarette addiction, they quit cigarettes. People who suffer from drug addiction, they quit drugs. So sugar is the same. Sugar has no nutritional value in our lives whatsoever. If anything, it makes our brains deteriorate and it makes our teeth rot and it makes us rot from the inside altogether. So sugar is the same. People who are addicted to sugar need to quit sugar. No ifs, ands, or buts. And I know it sounds dreadful, but I'll give you a couple tips on how to quit sugar that will actually be sustainable in your life. Because if I can do it, you can absolutely do it. Because I was a super sugar addict with a huge sweet tooth. So you can do it too. Step 2, download a habit tracking app. One app that I like to use is called Quit That. So what happens is that you look at the app and it has a counter. You set your date And then that date that you start, it keeps counting day after day after day, hour after hour after hour. So you'll look at the app and you'll be able to know exactly how long it's been since you quit sugar. And it's important to treat it like a real addiction because every single hour that goes by at the beginning, every single hour you'll be craving sugar. The more you think about it, the more you crave it. When you start tracking how long it's been since you've quit sugar, regardless of how many hours, how many days, how many weeks, or how many months, you really don't want to break that streak anymore because you become proud of it. So you look at that app and you're like, wow, I haven't had sugar in 2 or 3 whole weeks. I don't want to break that now, maybe tomorrow. So in that initial moment where you have an event or an obstacle that's tempting you to have sugar, you look at your tracking app and you say, wow, I haven't had sugar in this amount of hours or this amount of days. I don't want to break that streak right now. Today's a whole new day. Let me see about tomorrow. And then if tomorrow you hit another obstacle where you feel triggered by sugar, you do the same process, rinse and repeat. You look at your tracker and you say, wow, I haven't had sugar for this amount of time. I also don't want to break my streak today. And that's kind of what motivates you to keep going without breaking your streak. Because every single day counts. Every day is different. And every day you'll have this tool you can look at where you can believe in yourself and tell yourself, wow, I've done it until here. One more day won't hurt me. And that'll keep you going because you have to take each day as its own day. It's not easy. You'll have this thought process every day and you have to make a conscious decision every single day not to eat sugar. At least at the beginning, and then it gets a lot easier. But that's how it works at the beginning. And the tracking app will help. So what I would do and what I did do is in order to hold yourself accountable, go right now on your Android or your iPhone app store and download one of those free habit tracking apps. One that I had a lot of success with that I enjoy is called Quit That. So I got that one. And then what I did is that I put it and I set the timer and I started it. And then every time you keep going, you take a look at it and you see how long it's been and then you feel proud of yourself. It's no different than when people who suffer from alcoholism, drug addiction, or cigarette addiction, you see that they're 2 months alcohol free, or 3 months cigarette free, or 4 months drug free. It's the same type of process because it's an addiction, so you need to treat it the same way as you treat other addictions. So it's gonna hold you accountable. Go download that app. There's tons of free ones. I just use Quit That, but there's a lot of different ones, so you guys pick whichever one works for you. Step number 3, remove sugary items from your household. Now this might be tricky depending on who you live with, if you have roommates, if you have a family, if you have a partner or something like that. But at the end of the day, remember that sugar is not good for anyone. Is your pantry full of sugary snacks? Is your excuse that, oh, I need to feed my partner or I need to feed my kids, so there's always going to be sugar at home? Well, technically, sugar is not good for them either, and sugar is not good for everyone. So by removing it from your household, you're actually going to have a healthier household overall. Because maybe you can't eat sugar, but then the same thing's gonna happen to the people around you if you keep too much sugar in the household, where they might develop a sugar addiction as well. So for the benefit of yourself and everyone around you, it's a good idea to remove all the sugar from your household. They shouldn't be eating sugar either. So what's your excuse now? Remember what they say out of sight, out of mind. So take all the processed junk food, take all the sugary snacks and get rid of them. Just like you see in those series when they have that big bin and the lady comes over to that person's house and makes them throw everything out and all the junk food out of their house when they're starting their new weight loss journey. It's the same thing. So purge your house of all the sugary snacks, all the junky, sugary processed foods, and just make sure that you have a house without the excuses where you can actually reach for something easily. Out of sight, out of mind, like I just said. If it's not there, you won't eat it. You might think about it, but you have no access to it, so it's gonna be a lot harder to relapse if you get rid of it. Now another excuse might come up. Oh, I just spent so much money on all these groceries, so I can't throw them out. I'm just gonna have to eat my way through them until they're done and then I won't buy any more. Well, think about this. All the medical bills that you're going to be paying in the future down the line, the dentist bills, the medical bills, the health bills, these bills are going to be a lot higher than the cost of the groceries where you bought the sugar. So if I were you, I would throw them out right now, and now you have no more excuses. So take a big bin, throw them all out, get rid of them, and get them out of your house until it becomes automatic and you don't buy them anymore. Step number 4, brace yourself for withdrawal symptoms. So it's not going to be easy the first couple days, and you will be going through withdrawal symptoms just as you do with other addictions. You might feel irritable, sad, depressed, grumpy, and just overall feel like you don't want to do this because there's no point. And you might think, oh, this is not sustainable for the rest of my life, and come up with a lot of other excuses about why you don't want to quit sugar because you don't feel like it. But remember, you'll go through the feelings, you'll go through the process, and eventually it will get easier. It's not linear either. The first couple weeks are gonna be hard. The first couple hours, first couple days are gonna be really hard. But once you get over that hump, I would say after 21 days, that's when you start to build the habit, and that's when it starts to get easier. So just keep pushing, keep going. You might have like throbbing headaches about the sugar withdrawal that happens all the time, and you might have a lot of different mood swings and different types of emotions that you're going through like a roller coaster. But just don't worry. Expect them, and then find a contingency plan that if those happen, how will you act? So one thing that you can do is schedule more free time where you can take some naps if you're feeling those headaches, or if you're feeling grumpy, you can have a bit more rest time to schedule in and factor in for the fact that you might have those type of symptoms during your process in quitting sugar. One thing that you might do is that you might try to talk yourself out of quitting sugar. That's something that happens all the time. You might say, well, one little piece of chocolate or one little piece of sugar or one little cookie is not going to hurt me. It's in moderation, right? One little thing won't hurt me. But you have to remember that be honest with yourself. Do you think you could stop at one? Because most of the time, one leads to snowballing, and then you end up having all of it and leading to a full-out binge. So if you know yourself and you're honest with yourself and you know that it's hard to have just one because you'll relapse, then remember, you can't talk yourself out of this. You need to go with the flow and feel out the process, and eventually it will get easier. But just be disciplined at the beginning, trust yourself, and keep going, because this is so beneficial to your entire life, and it's gonna be something that you're gonna thank yourself for down the line. You know what they say, short-term pain equals long-term gain. So in the future, you will thank yourself for going through this process of quitting sugar. Step number 5, find substitutions for the foods that you love. Now, although I don't recommend to use any sweeteners whatsoever, at least for the first 3 to 4 weeks, eventually you will be able to incorporate some natural sweeteners into your lifestyle if you want to substitute for those days where you're craving something sweeter. Now be careful, because sometimes the insulin response that your body has for those sweeteners that are not sugar are actually the same type of insulin response that you get to actually eating real sugar. So the effects of natural sweetener on your body are not the same as actual sugar, because actual sugar really deteriorates your brain and it really causes your teeth to rot and all those other things that you know this sugar does. But what happens is that you might have the same sort of insulin spike, which is not completely proven yet. There's studies showing both sides. But I would definitely recommend to try to keep it to a minimum, because natural sweeteners are not the healthiest all the time, and it's something that you need to have in moderation also. And what I would say is that sometimes when you have those natural sweeteners, like the monk fruit and the erythritol sweeteners that I personally like, and I'll link them in the description box down below, I like those. But remember that that sweetness kind of mimics actual sugar and usually tastes like actual sugar, and everything's the same. So the response in your brain might be similar. And if you have too many sweeteners, even if they're natural and they're better for you and they're 0 calorie, it might still trigger that sugar addiction. So you need to be careful and have it in moderation also, because like everything else, you shouldn't eat everything all the time anyway. And if you want something sweet now and then, it's better to substitute actual sugar with a natural sweetener and make your own stuff. So if you want to have like a keto type of cheesecake, because keto basically uses those types of keto sweeteners, or monk fruit and erythritol and stevia, xylitol, those types of things. So you can make a treat with those instead of having a regular cheesecake, and that's going to be something that's more sustainable for you. But just don't make it every single day, and don't get in the habit of using the erythritol and monk fruit type of sweeteners or natural sweeteners in your coffee every single day. Just give yourself some moderation. Don't have it every day, because if you have it every day, you might relapse and start kind of snowballing back into having actual sugar due to those sugar cravings. So that's something to keep in mind. But the silver lining in all this is that even though you're quitting your sugar addiction and your addiction to actual sugar and those processed foods and things like that, you can still have some sweetness in your life. Just not all the time, and make that substitution and have the healthier options like the natural sweeteners. And I'll link a couple down below, so check the description box after this. But that's the silver lining. Just make it yourself. Avoid going to the store and buying anything, because if you buy anything, you can pretty much guarantee that it has some sort of sugar and it's not good for you, and you don't necessarily know what's in those processed foods. So if you really absolutely want to have something, like it's a special occasion and you want to have some cake or something for a birthday, think about it first. And if you want, the best alternative would be just to make your own. So you have some thought that goes into it. You know exactly what's going into it in terms of ingredients when you're making it. And then you could feel a little bit less guilty about eating something sweet. But don't eat it all, and keep practicing moderation, because it's something that's going to really challenge your self-discipline and you don't want to relapse afterwards. Step number 6. This one's a little trickier, but try to make it a hard no when people offer you sugar to avoid relapsing. Because you know what happens? If you have a little nibble of sugar here, a little nibble of sugar there, even though you think it's under control, it's really, really hard to prevent yourself from fully relapsing and snowballing and having sugar again. Some people don't have this problem, but if you're a sugar addict the way I was, it's really, really hard to snap yourself out of it once you start to snowball, and you almost don't see it happen because it happens so fast. So if someone comes to you saying, oh, do you want a little piece of a cookie at work, or do you want a little bit of a treat? Just try to say no. Have that self-discipline. If you're still craving it by the time you get home, like I said in step number 5, just find a substitute, make a healthier alternative, and make your own type of sweet treat. Okay, that's the best thing that I can give you guys as advice. I know that it's not necessarily the easiest thing, because that means you kind of have to commit to this lifestyle for the rest of your life. Eventually, you might have it a little bit more in control, but relapsing is something that's really real, and you won't really know until it happens to you. So if it does happen to you, just try to snap out of it as fast as you can. Take the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right back as we started, and then try to detox yourself from sugar again before you have a full-blown sugar addiction come back. But obviously there's some situations where you might have a little bit of a treat and a little bit of something, but really, really, really try to get back on track and try to make it a hard no rule to avoid it all the time, and make your own alternatives as much as you can. Because a lot of the time, those natural sweeteners are also more expensive, and then you don't feel like going through the process of making your own. Then it makes you feel lazy to cook your own treats, and then you don't feel like spending the money on the natural sweeteners. And at the end of the day, you're actually gonna not end up having any sweeteners, which will help you with your detoxing off sugar. So that's kind of a silver lining in that. But just make sure that you make it a hard no to try to avoid sugar as much as you can, because relapsing is a thing in the world of sugar addictions. Step number 7, read food labels carefully. You don't even know how many things are hidden in those food labels. So turn it around, look at the label on the food, and figure out if there's added sugar, because almost everything has added sugar. Anything, even a regular can of corn, if you turn it to the back and you look at it, a lot of the time it has added sugar, which is so mind-blowing. Everything has added sugar, because as you know, the food corporations are trying to get us addicted to these foods, so we keep consuming more and more and more. Things like ketchup, barbecue sauce, all these types of condiments, a lot of the time they have a lot of sugar that are added to them. So one thing that you can do is try to purchase the no sugar added versions, or make your own. Because sometimes the no sugar added versions could be a little bit more expensive, so there's always the option of making your own if possible, or trying to find somewhere and hunting for the cheapest ones possible. And when you buy it, you'll also be less inclined to eating so much of it, which is going to be good for your health overall anyway, because you don't want to spend so much money always replenishing your stock of the no sugar added condiments and ketchups and barbecue sauces and stuff like that. It's going to be good for your overall health to kind of get used to not eating the foods with that kind of sweetness. Like when you're eating something and you dip it in the condiment full of sugar, when you get used to kind of getting rid of that, it's going to make it easier on your life. The one biggest tip I have for you is really in general to read the labels of everything you're buying. If it's something in a can or something processed or something like that, that's not a whole food. Because those things have a lot of marketing that go into them, and a lot of marketing is causing us to think that things are healthy when they actually are not. So just because it has a label slapped on that says healthy or low fat or low sugar or any of those, just make sure you actually look at the ingredients at the back and try to figure it out, and realize that there's kind of some bad ingredients in there that are substituting the things that we usually like to eat. So sucralose, aspartame, all those types of things, those are not healthy either. So be aware of that. Be aware of marketing. Don't trust everything you see on the top of the label, and actually turn it around and do some research and figure out what the ingredients in there are and if it's good for your body. If there's too many ingredients that you don't even know the names and you can't even pronounce them, it's probably a good idea to put that back on the shelf and avoid it altogether. Step number 8, journal your feelings. I know a lot of you might never have journaled before and it might sound silly to you, but think about the actual act of going in and typing or going in and writing a journal for a couple minutes. That's really going to allow you to get your mind off food just for a couple minutes until you get over that hunger wave that you have for the sugar addiction. So think about that. I know people think it's silly, but that's exactly why I built the forum called waterfastingforum.com. And the forum is not all about water fasting. It's just about health and nutrition altogether and about your journey in general. There's a section on waterfastingforum.com where you can actually put your daily journal. You create your own journal like ABC's daily journal, and every single day, every single hour, whenever you feel like it, you can actually comment on your own journal, reply to yourself, and write down how you're feeling. This will actually be an exercise to really help you become more aware of yourself, because self-awareness is key. If you become self-aware and start to understand what kind of triggers trigger you to eat those types of sugary foods or any foods that you're addicted to in general, that might really help you quit your sugar addiction or your food addiction in general. So for example, maybe family gatherings are a place where you feel triggered to eat food because in the past, your whole life, when you get together with family, you enjoy a lot of junk food or you enjoy a lot of sugar and it's just something that you're used to. So if you're trying to quit sugar and you have a family gathering coming up where you typically eat sugar, that might be a trigger for you. But by putting it in your journal, that's going to really allow you to understand that that's something that is a trigger, and then you'll be more mentally prepared once you come to that event. Then maybe when you go to that event in the near future, you know that you're going to have some struggles, and maybe that's going to give you the opportunity to tell people around you, hey, listen, I'm quitting sugar, and usually these family events make me feel triggered, so if you could please support me and not give me any sugar at the event just because I'm telling you beforehand, please, that would help me with my journey. Thank you so much. If you can have that honest conversation with people around you or someone that you trust, or even just have that conversation with yourself if you're the only person in this journey for yourself, then come log it in the journal. Tell us about how you're feeling. Tell me about how you're feeling. It could be just an anonymous post, but write everything down. It will help you kind of go through your thoughts and understand yourself better, understand the obstacles, understand the triggers, understand how you're going to feel, and try to overcome those hurdles. So something you can do, for example, is make a journal entry on waterfastingforum.com and write something like, it's day 3, I'm quitting sugar, I'm feeling irritable, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling angry. And you can take that time to actually cleanse your mind and realize that you can stop yourself in this particular moment. Because typically, maybe in the past when you had those feelings or those emotions that you were feeling, maybe you would cope with those emotions by using food or sugar as a crutch. So at least by making the journal, you can distract yourself from that crutch and distract yourself from that moment where you go reach for the food. And instead, you're going to be distracting yourself by journaling. So it can kind of click your mind off of actually reaching for those bad things that you shouldn't be putting in your body. I'll put a link down below so you can actually go on waterfastingforum.com and make yourself that daily journal. Again, it's called waterfastingforum.com, but a lot of people are journaling about their fasting journey, about quitting sugar, about starting the ketogenic diet, about trying intermittent fasting, about trying low carb. It's really just an online community where you can make an anonymous name and put an anonymous photo if you want to, and just kind of journal your thoughts and have that online place that you can save on your phone where you can always go and revert to journaling whenever you're feeling any type of emotions. So that's a way to cope with your emotions. Instead of going to food for comfort, you can go to the journal and really work things out with yourself before you go and relapse in any sort of way. I hope these 8 steps helped you. All in all, you just have to know that quitting sugar is a mental game. It's really mind over matter. And I know that they have the bliss point. These food corporations spend a lot of money and do a lot of research to have that perfect crunch, the perfect taste, the perfect texture. But you have to understand that we can beat it. As a community, we can beat it. The less we eat sugar, the more we can beat this whole sugar addiction that most people have in the world anyway. So you can do this. It's mind over matter. Believe in yourself. Do positive affirmations and tell yourself that you can get over this sugar addiction and you can get over the binging on sugar if that's something you tend to do. It is possible, because I never thought I could do it. And if I can do it, trust me, you can do it, because it's something I've struggled with for over 27 years. For sure, during this process of quitting sugar and detoxing your body from sugar, you will have some physical symptoms manifest themselves, like the headaches and the irritability and those types of things. But you'll know, and you know that you have different outlets where you can actually log those things, like the journal or just talking to somebody or going through the process, because once you know that it's going to happen, it's easier to prepare yourself for it. So make a journal, write everything down, try to clear your thoughts by writing them out so you understand yourself better. And remember, this journey is going to be something that you take one day at a time. Don't think about the long-term journey about quitting sugar for a year or 2 years, 3 years, or the rest of your life. Think about this as a one step at a time and take the baby steps. Because if you think about quitting sugar for the rest of your life, it's going to be so dreadful and you're going to be so upset about it because it just sounds so unsustainable. So remember, take it one day at a time, one step at a time. You don't need to rush. Just take it day by day and start to understand yourself and how you deal with your emotions and how you use sugar as a crutch to deal with other things in your life. And try to understand that this process is not linear. Just give it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, and eventually it's going to become second nature to you not to reach for the sugary foods. So keep that in mind. I hope these 8 steps helped you, and let me know if they do help you on quitting sugar and how far you've come along. You can use the comments section down below as well to start your sugar quitting journal there if you want as well. If you don't want to go on waterfastingforum.com, you guys know I answer every single comments in the comments below. So if you guys want to write down day 1, quitting sugar, we got this, and just reply to yourself every once in a while on day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and put them in the comments below. I'll be there to support you as well, because you can do it and you have the willpower to do it. It's mind over matter. If you like this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so anytime videos like this come out, you'll be the first to know. And if you want to join our community, we have a lot of different places where we have our community. You can join waterfastingforum.com. It's in the description box below. We also have our Facebook accountability group, and we have a lot of different places where you can join our family. Most of the videos that I make on this channel, if you hit that subscribe button, are about just being healthy overall, living a healthy, fasting-focused lifestyle. So if you want to incorporate some fasting into your life, and then in general, quitting sugar, living a low-carb life, living a ketogenic life, and those types of things. So if you like these topics, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you at the next video. I'll see you guys next time. Comment down below. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know if you've quit sugar before. Let me know what day you're on. And let me know in general how your journey is going. And if you have any questions, I'm right there. I answer every single one. I'll see you guys next time. Good luck with quitting sugar. You can do it. Mind over matter. Bye.